Uber's in trouble again. Let's go see. Texas woman with cerebral palsy says Uber denied service to her over 24 times. A lawsuit filed today in California's Northern District alleges that Uber denied service to a Texas woman with cerebral palsy on approximately 25 separate occasions in 2016 and 2017. The source of the canceled rides appears to be Goody, a service dog the plaintiff, Deidre Steele, has had since 2009 to assist with mobility and balance. The suit recounts a number of interactions ranging from drivers claiming a dog allergy, claiming they refused to transport dogs, or to speeding off once they noticed the animal. In all cases, Steele said Goody was wearing a service dog vest. Uber's website notes state and federal law prohibit driver partners using the Uber driver app from denying service to riders with service animals because of the service animals, and from otherwise discriminating against riders with service animals. As explained in Uber's non-discrimination policy, driver partners who engage in discriminatory conduct in violation of this legal obligation will lose their ability to use the driver app. In 2 occasions detailed in the suit, drivers refused service to Steele due to concerns about the cleanliness of their cars. "Sorry, it's a brand new car," one driver allegedly texted Steele. Another is alleged to have told Steele verbally, "No way, I don't have a blanket for my seats." Cleanliness is something Uber takes into account when assessing the eligibility of a driver's vehicle. And according to driver forum posts, Uber nags drivers whose cars they believe aren't up to snuff. The company's help site even has its own page for riders to complain if a vehicle was in poor condition. In this sense, the drivers themselves are between a rock and a hard place. And Steele's suit notes that Uber corporate were not especially helpful in resolving her ongoing denial of service issues. You can read the full complaint below. So let's look at this complaint, because I like this stuff. Complaint for injunctive relief and damages for violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act, violation of the Texas Human Resources Code, intentional infliction of emotional distress. Plaintiff Deidre Steele initiates this action to enforce her right to be free from unlawful discrimination on the basis of her disability and the use and enjoyment of the public transportation services provided by defendants Uber Technologies, Inc. and Does 1 through 10. Plaintiff seeks the right under both the Americans with Disabilities Act and the Texas Human Resources Code to full and equal access to and use of the defendant's transportation services with her service animal. Plaintiff seeks declarative and injunctive relief to stop defendant's continuous and ongoing pattern and practice of denying plaintiff equal access to and participation in the transportation services defendants offer to the general public, solely because of the plaintiff's disability and use of a service animal. Plaintiff also seeks an award of damages pursuant to Texas Human Resource Code to compensate her for the harm she has suffered as a result of the deprivation of her civil rights. And it goes about why the court has jurisdiction. Parties. Deidre Steele is an adult resident of Mansfield, Texas. Plaintiff Steele is a person with a disability as defined by the ADA and the Texas Human Resources Code. Plaintiff Steele has cerebral palsy, a permanent, non-progressive disorder affecting muscle strength and coordination that affects plaintiff's balance and ability to walk. Plaintiff requires a service animal in order to walk and maintain her balance. At all times relevant to this complaint, Plaintiff Steele has used an individually trained dog named Goody as a service animal, as that term is defined by the ADA basically, and the Texas Human Resources Code. And it goes through who Uber is. Factual allegations. This is the good stuff. Plaintiff Steele has lived with cerebral palsy since birth. Cerebral palsy impairs plaintiff's balance and motor coordination, as well as her peripheral vision. Plaintiff's disability significantly limits her mobility, making it difficult for plaintiff to maintain her balance while walking or to navigate up and down steps. Plaintiff is also unable to drive due to her disability. Since 2009, Plaintiff Steele has used a service animal to provide physical support and assistance with balance. Use of a service animal is necessary in order to permit Plaintiff Steele to live as independently as possible. Through the use of a service animal, plaintiff is able to walk safely and navigate up and down steps. At all times relevant to this complaint, Plaintiff Steele has used an individually trained dog named Goody as a service animal. Goody provides plaintiff balance and counterbalance and provides stability for plaintiff. Goody also enables plaintiff to navigate up and down steps and safely access ramps. Goody has also been trained to provide plaintiff with migraine headache alerts and to provide grounding for post-traumatic stress disorder, a condition plaintiff suffers. Plaintiff depends on access to public transportation and privately owned transportation services, such as the service provided by the defendant Uber to travel locally to retail establishments and to attend appointments with health care providers, including her primary care physician. Starting in 2016, Plaintiff Steele began using the transportation services provided by defendant Uber. Defendant Uber operates a demand responsive that provides transportation to individuals by car. The demand responsive system developed and implemented by defendant Uber offers substantial cost savings over other forms of transportation available to plaintiff. As a person with a disability living on a fixed income, the cost savings offered by Uber are significant and create a strong incentive for plaintiff to use Uber's transportation services. Plaintiff accesses Uber's transportation services by using Uber software, which is available as an app on plaintiff's smartphone. Through its software app, defendant Uber provides transportation services to the general public by arranging rides for passengers in the same manner that a taxi dispatcher arranges taxi cabs for customers. A passenger, such as plaintiff, uses Uber's app to request transportation from a specific location to a specific destination. The software app identifies the drivers available to provide the transportation and arranges for a driver to pick up the passenger. The app then notifies the passenger that a ride has been arranged and provides the driver's name, make, and model of the driver's vehicle and the estimated time of arrival. The app allows the passenger to track the driver's progress to the passenger's location. Upon completion of the ride, payment is made through Uber's app. Passengers do not pay the driver for the ride. Instead, defendant Uber automatically charges the passenger's credit card for the ride. The cost of the ride is set by Uber based on the duration and distance of the ride and other factors determined by Uber's algorithms. Uber then remits payment directly to the driver, keeping a portion of the payment for itself. Through 2016 and 2017, Plaintiff Steele was repeatedly denied access to defendant Uber's transportation services on approximately 25 separate occasions. In every instance, plaintiff was denied service because of her disability and use of a service animal. Defendant's ongoing and continuing pattern and practice of refusing to provide transportation services to plaintiff has caused Plaintiff Steele financial loss as well as extreme emotional distress. The first denial of service occurred on or about March 19, 2016. Plaintiff Steele used defendant Uber's app to arrange transportation home from a doctor's appointment. Plaintiff waited outside for the Uber driver to arrive. Plaintiff waited with Goody, her service animal, who was on a leash and wore a vest indicating she was a service dog. When the driver arrived and saw plaintiff with a service animal, the driver said, "I've never had a doggy in my car before." Plaintiff tried to explain that Goody was a service animal, but the driver drove away. Plaintiff called defendant Uber's critical response line to complain that she had been denied service because of her service animal. Another instance occurred on September 14, 2016. Plaintiff Steele was at a Sprouts grocery store when she used Uber's app to obtain transportation home. After requesting a ride, Uber's app confirmed that her assigned driver, Wong, would arrive in a Toyota in approximately 7 minutes. A few minutes later, the Uber app informed plaintiff the driver was arriving now. Plaintiff saw the identified Toyota enter the Sprouts parking lot, come to her location, and then continue on. The driver circled the parking lot and then left. Plaintiff received a text asking, "Dog?" Plaintiff replied with a text stating she had a service dog. The driver's final text stated, "Sorry, it's a brand new car." Plaintiff then received a message from defendant Uber stating, "Sorry, our driver had to cancel today." Plaintiff was left standing in the Sprouts parking lot with her groceries and Goody, her service dog. Plaintiff became so upset she began to cry and started shaking. Plaintiff required assistance in order to return into the store to charge her smartphone to arrange other transportation home. On at least one occasion, plaintiff was denied service twice on the same day by two different Uber drivers. On September 30, 2016, at approximately 12:16 p.m., plaintiff used defendant's Uber app to obtain transportation home from a local Walmart. Plaintiff received confirmation from Uber's app that a driver was 6 minutes away. Plaintiff also received a message that the driver had arrived. The Uber driver, Clarence, arrived in a pickup truck and acknowledged plaintiff. The driver got out of the truck and lowered the truck bed and indicated that plaintiff's service animal Goody would have to ride in the back of the truck. When plaintiff objected, Clarence slammed the truck bed closed, got into the truck, and drove away. Plaintiff then received a message from defendant Uber stating, "Sorry, our driver had to cancel today." After having been denied service once, plaintiff made a second attempt to access the transportation services offered by defendant Uber. At approximately 12:40 p.m., plaintiff used Uber's app to request another ride home from Walmart. Again, the Uber app confirmed that a driver, Robert, would arrive in approximately 6 minutes. Plaintiff also received a message that the driver had arrived. A moment later, plaintiff received a text message from the Uber driver asking, "Are you the lady with the dog?" Plaintiff confirmed she had a service animal. The driver replied with a text stating, "I have allergies, sorry." Several minutes later, plaintiff received a message from defendant Uber stating, "Sorry, our driver had to cancel today." Plaintiff submitted a complaint to the Department of Justice reporting the 2 consecutive denials of service she experienced that day. Plaintiff Steele was also denied service on Thanksgiving Day, November 24, 2016. Plaintiff sought to obtain transportation to celebrate the holiday with her family and friends. Plaintiff requested transportation with defendant Uber. The app confirmed that an Uber driver named Kingsley would arrive in approximately 13 minutes. When the Uber driver arrived, he stopped before reaching the end of plaintiff's driveway. The driver saw plaintiff waiting for him with Goody, plaintiff's service animal. Goody was on a leash and wore a vest stating service dog. From a distance, the Uber driver yelled to plaintiff, asking, "Are you the one taking Uber with the service dog?" Plaintiff replied, "Yes, she's a service dog." The Uber driver replied, "No way, I don't have a blanket for my seats." Plaintiff showed the driver she had a blanket for Goody to sit on. Plaintiff also explained that federal law requires that he provide service to both her and her service animal. The Uber driver shook his head, said that he wasn't refusing service, but that he didn't have a blanket for his seats. The Uber driver then backed out of plaintiff's driveway and left. A few minutes later, plaintiff received a message from defendant Uber that its driver had canceled. Plaintiff was late for the Thanksgiving celebration as she was required to obtain other transportation. Plaintiff filed a complaint to the Department of Justice reporting the denial of service. A similar instance occurred December 20, 2016. Plaintiff Steele sought transportation with defendant Uber. Plaintiff received confirmation that an Uber driver was approximately 13 minutes away. When the Uber driver arrived, he rolled down the car window and asked if plaintiff was taking the dog. Plaintiff's service animal Goody was on leash and wore a vest stating service dog. When plaintiff said she was taking her service animal, the Uber driver stated, "I can't take the dog." The driver shook his head, said, "No, ma'am," and pulled out of the plaintiff's driveway. Plaintiff later received a message from defendant Uber that its driver had to cancel. Afterwards, plaintiff Steele called defendant Uber support line and reported the denial of service. Uber's representative refused to record the driver's name and license plate number. Instead, Uber's representative told plaintiff, "You need to be more proactive and take a picture of the license plate so we'll have the information." Plaintiff was instructed to take a screenshot of her smartphone and hit the home button on Uber's app to forward the information to Uber. Plaintiff attempted to follow these instructions, but the information was lost. Defendant Uber took no further action to address the denial of service. Plaintiff Steele filed a complaint to the U.S. Department of Justice reporting the denial of service. In 2016, plaintiff Steele was denied service by defendant Uber because of her disability and use of a service animal on or about each of the following dates: March 4, 2016, March 24, 2016, May 11th, 2016. These are all 2016. June 6, June 20, August 26, September 9th, September 14th, September 22nd, September 30, and September 30 again, October 25, November 11, November 16th, November 24, and December 2 and December 20th. Defendant Uber's ongoing pattern and practice of refusing to provide service to plaintiff Steele because of her disability and use of a service animal continued through 2017. On January 3, 2017, plaintiff Steele was again denied service by the defendant Uber. Uber confirmed that a driver named Angela in a Chevy Equinox would arrive to pick up plaintiff in 3 minutes. Plaintiff then sent the Uber driver a text specifying the specific location where she would be waiting. A few minutes later, plaintiff saw a Chevy Equinox pull up to the location specified by plaintiff. The driver could see plaintiff waiting for the driver with her service animal Goody, who was always on a leash and always wore a vest stating service dog unless stated differently. As plaintiff reached out to open the car door, the driver pulled away, circled the parking lot, and left. Plaintiff attempted to call and text the driver. The driver did not respond to plaintiff's voice message or her text. A few moments later, plaintiff received a message from defendant Uber stating, "Sorry, our driver had to cancel." Plaintiff was left standing there with no way home. Plaintiff filed a complaint with the Department of Justice that she had been denied service by defendant Uber. Plaintiff was again denied service by defendant Uber on January 31, 2017. Uber's app confirmed that a driver named Ahmed would arrive in approximately 4 minutes in a Hyundai. A few minutes later, the Uber driver pulled up and stopped directly in front of plaintiff, who was standing with her service animal, Goody. Plaintiff had Goody on a leash, and Goody was wearing a vest. As plaintiff began to move toward the vehicle, the driver made eye contact with the plaintiff and then suddenly accelerated his car and pulled away from the loading ramp and drove away. Then there was the message again. He had to cancel. Plaintiff filed a complaint with the Department of Justice reporting the denial of service. Department of Justice needs to get with this. The very next day, February 1, plaintiff was again denied service because of her disability and use of a service animal. Plaintiff complained to defendant Uber that she had again been denied service. On February 5, plaintiff was contacted by defendant Uber and asked to provide details regarding the denial of service she reported on February 1. Plaintiff told defendant Uber that she had been denied service many times. Defendant Uber represented that it would address the driver that had denied service to plaintiff on February 1. Defendant made no effort to address the previous times plaintiff had been denied service. Further, defendant Uber did not indicate that it would take any action to correct the continuing problem of denying service to persons who travel with a service animal. Plaintiff received no further communication from Uber regarding the February 1 denial of service. Plaintiff was again denied service because of her disability and use of a service animal on February 7. The Uber app confirmed that an Uber driver named Santiago would arrive in approximately 10 minutes to pick up plaintiff. When the Uber driver arrived, the driver saw plaintiff standing with her service animal, Goody. Yeah, leash vest. Upon seeing plaintiff's service animal, the Uber driver asked if the dog was coming. When plaintiff replied that she required her service dog for her disability, the driver refused to take Goody. Plaintiff asked the Uber driver to call Uber's critical response line, but the driver refused. The driver then left. As usual, plaintiff then received the message. Plaintiff filed a complaint with the Department of Justice reporting the denial of service. Plaintiff Steele continued to be denied service by defendant Uber throughout the rest of 2017. In 2017, plaintiff Steele was denied service by defendant on or about each of the following dates: January 3, January 31, February 1, February 7, September 9, September 15, October 13, November 2, and November 27th. In addition to the numerous times that defendant Uber completely denied service to plaintiff, plaintiff has repeatedly been subjected to disparaging comments and complaints by Uber drivers who reluctantly allowed plaintiff to travel with her service animal. Throughout 2016 and 2017, plaintiff repeatedly dealt with drivers who complained and made disparaging comments to express their displeasure about taking plaintiff's service animal. On March 21, 2016, when the Uber driver arrived to pick up plaintiff, the driver saw that plaintiff had a service animal. The driver told plaintiff that he usually doesn't haul dogs. The driver also scolded plaintiff for not advising him about her dog before he arrived. On March 30, the Uber driver initially objected to taking plaintiff's service animal. After plaintiff explained the importance of having her service animal with her, the driver reluctantly agreed to allow plaintiff to ride with Goody. However, during the trip, the Uber driver complained repeatedly that he had a fear of dogs. The driver also falsely accused Goody of getting mud on his back seat. See, people lie about misdeeds of service dogs. It happens. On April 28, 2017, the Uber driver first wanted to know if plaintiff's service animal Goody would shed hair. Throughout the trip, the Uber driver implied that she did not believe that plaintiff's dog Goody was a service animal. The driver wanted to know details about how a service animal works. The driver then told plaintiff about a family member that fakes having a service dog, as if it's any of her business. On October 19, 2017, the Uber driver would only take plaintiff and her service animal if Goody rode in the back of the driver's SUV away from plaintiff. About 2 weeks later, on October 31, another Uber driver complained about having to take a long-haired dog in her car. The driver said she did not appreciate having to take other people's dogs in her car when Uber will not permit her to have her own dog in the car. On November 3, 2017, the Uber driver agreed to take plaintiff's service animal Goody, but then complained that he would now have to clean the car. Uber drivers have repeatedly complained to plaintiff about taking her service animal, citing concerns for the interior of the car, fear of dogs, and allergies. It's a saga that never ends. Most recently, on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2018, so just, a couple of weeks back, plaintiff requested a ride through defendant's Uber app. The driver arrived in a pickup truck. When the driver saw Goody, plaintiff's service animal, the driver said the dog could ride in the truck bed. Plaintiff objected and advised that she must remain with her service animal. In response, the driver told plaintiff that they should both get in the back of the truck. At one point, the driver tried to take the leash away from plaintiff. After an extended conversation, the driver eventually consented to letting both plaintiff and her service animal ride in the cab of the truck. Plaintiff reported the incident to defendant Uber. Plaintiff later received a reply from Uber stating, "No worries, we've noted your concerns and will follow up as needed." Throughout 2016 and 2017, plaintiff complained to defendant Uber each time she was denied service. Plaintiff also complained to defendant Uber when a driver complained or made disparaging comments about taking her service animal. Despite plaintiff's numerous complaints, defendant Uber did not take plaintiff's complaints seriously. In response to a complaint by plaintiff, defendant Uber replied with a text message stating, "No worries, we've noted your concerns and are further reviewing this driver's account. We have also made sure that you will no longer be paired with this driver again, and we've issued a $5 credit to your account that can be applied to your next trip." In fact, Uber failed to properly address any of the plaintiff's complaints. Uber has taken no action to remedy the repeated denials of service plaintiff has reported and suffered. Uber has done nothing to ensure that plaintiff would not be denied service in the future. For instance, plaintiff complained to defendant Uber after she was completely denied service on September 15th, 2017. In response to plaintiff's complaint, a customer service representative from Uber called plaintiff. The customer service representative apologized to plaintiff for the problem. Plaintiff was informed that Uber would refund the $5 cancellation fee Uber had charged to plaintiff's account. Plaintiff was also told that Uber would investigate and either provide the driver with additional education or suspend the driver. Plaintiff was later informed that the defendant Uber had provided the driver with additional information regarding the legal obligation to provide service to an individual with a disability who is traveling with a service animal. When plaintiff complained to defendant Uber that she had been denied service on October 13, Uber responded to plaintiff with a text message stating, "We've noted your concerns and are further reviewing this driver's account. We have ensured that you will no longer be paired with this driver." Defendant Uber took no further action to ensure that individuals with a service animal would be provided service as required by law. Further, defendant Uber did nothing to enforce compliance with its own policies regarding service to persons with disabilities who travel with a service animal. Plaintiff complained again on November 3rd, reporting that the driver agreed to provide service to plaintiff and her service animal, but complained repeatedly that he would have to clean the car. Plaintiff received a text response from defendant Uber stating that it had noted her concerns. Uber assured plaintiff she would not be paired with that driver again. Uber also issued a $5 credit on her Uber account. On November 27, 2017, plaintiff reported to Uber that she had been denied service because of her need to travel with a service animal. Plaintiff reported that the driver pulled up and saw me, saw the dog, and left. I then texted, "Are you en route?" but received a text message on Uber's app stating our driver had to cancel today. Unacceptable discrimination. So the driver claims she discriminated. Right. Another lie. Defendant Uber responded to plaintiff's complaint with a text stating, "We have launched an internal investigation and someone will be in contact with you as soon as possible regarding the matter." In fact, no one from Uber ever contacted plaintiff regarding her complaint. Instead, on December 3rd, 2017, plaintiff received a text message from defendant Uber stating, "Thank you so much for speaking with me on the phone and sharing the details of this reported incident. The behavior you described is not tolerated." In fact, no one from Uber had contacted plaintiff, and plaintiff had not spoken to anyone at Uber regarding her complaint. About 2 hours later, plaintiff received another text message from defendant Uber stating it had closed out its investigation by providing the driver additional information regarding the driver's legal obligations. Plaintiff alleges that, in fact, defendant Uber did not investigate plaintiff's complaint. Plaintiff further alleges on information and belief that Uber does not require that drivers provide service to individuals with disabilities who travel with a service animal. Instead, drivers are asked to volunteer to take passengers with service animals. Uber gives a higher rating to drivers who volunteer than drivers who do not. Uber then matches drivers who volunteered to take service animals with ride requests from individuals traveling with a service animal. These policies and practices result in reduced service and longer wait time for individuals who travel with service animals, since only those drivers who have volunteered to take service animals are available to accept the ride request. Additionally, plaintiff alleges on information and belief that Uber's app includes a rating system that Uber drivers use to rate passengers. Uber's passenger rating system operates in a manner that reduces services to individuals who travel with service animals. After each ride, the driver is able to rate the passenger on a scale of 1 to 5. Drivers are able to view a passenger's average rating before accepting the ride. Additionally, if a driver gives a passenger a low rating, Uber does not match the driver to that passenger. Uber's passenger rating system gives drivers a means of screening out passengers with service animals. Drivers give lower ratings to passengers with service animals than the ratings given to other passengers. This enables the driver to avoid being matched with the same passengers in the future and results in lower average ratings for passengers who travel with service animals. Since drivers prefer to pick up passengers with higher ratings and may choose not to accept a pickup from a customer with a low rating, this screens out riders who travel with a service animal, such as a plaintiff. Uber's repeated denial of service and other conduct described in the preceding paragraphs of the complaint caused plaintiff Steele extreme emotional distress. Each time plaintiff was denied service, she experienced intense anxiety and anger. Plaintiff would often begin to shake and cry. Plaintiff suffered from an ongoing sense of helplessness, abandonment, and isolation brought on by defendants' unlawful discrimination. Plaintiff suffered from sleeplessness and nightmares. She also began suffering migraine headaches brought on by defendants' repeated denials of service. Plaintiff suffered this extreme emotional distress throughout 2016 and 2017. Hold on. Nope, no water. Plaintiff required medical attention from a mental health professional, which she still receives today. On at least one occasion, plaintiff was treated in the emergency department of a local hospital. So that's the story. That's the complaint. Like an ongoing saga, this poor person, this poor woman. Nope, don't want to join the membership. So, anyway, I thought you guys might find that interesting, if not a little tedious. Till next video, bye.